welcome to 10 for 10. We've got 10 sports topics with the News 10 sports team. An exciting episode. Today, I'm Tommy Valentine. Joining me is Brian Rudman. Brian, I believe this is a historic episode of 10 for 10, our first time without our usual fearless lead host, Griffin Haas.
I believe it is. I believe it's the first without Griff. He's enjoying some well-deserved time off.
Absolutely.
I also, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first one since the announcement that you've been on?
This is.
All right. Let's give the guy his flowers. Tommy Valentine, new sports director, News 10.
Thank you. Listen, we've got a great team. I'm happy to be stepping into the role. Obviously, I've got a great weekend anchor and a partner in crime, and we're going to keep doing our thing for the foreseeable future. So, like you mentioned, Griffin, we hope you're doing well, enjoying some well-deserved time off. So let's jump into the topics. First on the docket, we're talking New York Yankees.
I wonder who picked that one.
Of course. It is it's funny, this team, just when I've written them off.
Yeah.
And I'm at my wit's end with them.
Yeah.
They reel me right back in.
Well, listen, I feel like we go through this every season with the Yankees, don't we? Like
the June swoon. There's a little lull.
They figure it out.
Then they come back up.
Yeah.
So I was in a dark place at the end of that Minnesota series. Still 9 games above 500. A lot to be hopeful for. Still in a fine spot for first place in the wild card. And then the Tampa series comes up and win the first game, feeling good. Then they drop the next 2, 8 games above 500, and I'm feeling down in the dumps. They just looked no spark in the offense. Yeah. Pitching was fine, but obviously not as good as it's been. Cam Schlittler had a very promising start to that Tampa Bay series. But then Warren gets roughed up a little bit. They get blanked by Shane McClanahan. I'm looking at the schedule right now. And I just 8 games after that third game of the Tampa Bay series, it's feeling really rough. And I'm just kind of like, we got to get to the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, the series finale. They erupt for 12 runs. They beat up on Drew Rasmussen, who had kind of had their number in the past. And, managed to salvage a split. Would have liked to gain a little ground on the Rays, but they salvage a split. And then they go into that Washington series, and every single game is a comeback, late-game comeback. Jazz has the huge go-ahead home run on Friday. They pull it out on Saturday. Grisham has the big homer. McMahon kind of jump-started that rally. Goldschmidt, the 3 home runs in the 8th inning. And then, again, things are looking bleak on Sunday. And Ben Rice is the go-ahead 2-run triple. Yeah. Caballero tacks on a little more. Bullpen looked great. Bednar came in clutch on Friday, Saturday. Paul Blackburn steps up. I did not think that in mid-July I'd be saying Paul Blackburn stepped up to secure a big win for us. I look right now, and his ERA is at 2.22. And we'll dive into some of the Yankees' needs, and bullpen is certainly one of them. But it was a very encouraging way, to say the least, to go into the All-Star break.
It was encouraging, and I think it was needed because especially you look at the way this team comes out of the All-Star break, right? You got the Dodgers. Pittsburgh, you're going to miss Skeens, which is good. Yeah. But then you go to Philly, you go to Chicago, where the White Sox have been tough. But, it was much needed. I think this team, for a long time, it's as Aaron Judge goes, the team goes, he's hurt right now, and they've been suffering. The All-Stars kind of got it back into gear with that, right? Ben Rice, the multi-homer game against Tampa to close that series. And then the big triple on Sunday. Bellinger's been kind of finding his swing a little bit the last couple of days. That's really what it is, because as good as this team is at the top of the lineup, they've proven, and they need to address it at the deadline. It's a relatively thin lineup. It's not great at the bottom. So when Judge is out, when Grisham was out, right? He was a big piece. When Rice isn't hitting, when Bellinger's going cold, it can be tough. And then, Schlittler's been great. He's had a couple bad, I don't want to say bad, but he had a couple
un-Schlittler-like outings.
Right. It was not the same level of dominance. It's not to say they were bad starts, but especially when the offense is struggling, you need your ace to go out there and be the ace. it was a good sign for the Yankees. Obviously, coming back is also good because, if those 3 games, if they can't rally, even if you take 1 out of 3, or if it's, if they don't get to that Washington bullpen and all of a sudden you're going in with that horrible 2-week stretch into the All-Star break, it's a very different conversation, and all of a sudden hosting the Dodgers becomes a massive series. It's still a big series, Absolutely. But at this point, it's interleague. They're 3 games out of the Rays. It doesn't have to be the most massive series in the world.
Yeah. Was I a little bit concerned? Now, granted, the Nationals are a good team. So
yes, they're a good offense.
They're
a
phenomenal offense. And outside of James Wood going absolutely nuclear, he hit, I want to make sure I have this right, he hit a home run in every single game of the series. Other than that, they did a pretty good job neutralizing that lineup. Luis Garcia didn't hurt them too much. C.J. Abrams they held relatively in check. So I was very encouraged by the pitching.
Sure.
It was a little bit of like, okay, they teed off the Nationals. Certainly their strength is not their bullpen.
Right, yeah, of course.
They have some good starting arms. Cavalli, your boy. Foster Griffin.
We don't need to go into that.
We won't go down that road. But their bullpen is certainly not their strong suit. So it was a little bit like, okay, yeah, we salvaged this series. I like the ability of the Yankees to be able to come from behind in those games.
Yeah.
I'd like them to show a little more pop at the start of these games. That's why the last game of the Tampa Bay series was so encouraging. They got out to that huge lead. It's one of those kind of like catch-22 things where it's like, yeah, they came back in every game. That's great. They got the sweep. But also the offense really struggled early in those games, which was their big problem throughout kind of this cold stretch.
Yeah, but you know what? It's one of those things where I like, I obviously dislike the Yankees, but from a Yankees perspective, you gotta like that there's fight there.
Yes, certainly.
That is fantastic for the Yankees because, listen, they're going to go through these stretches where the offense isn't hitting. You're going to go through the stretches where Rice goes cold or Judge is hurt. And you're also going to be in stretches when you get to October, which is where this team has struggled and which the whole year it's all about what you do when you get to October.
Yep.
There are going to be stretches when you face, the ace. You're going to be facing top 3 starting pitchers every night. You're going to be seeing the best arms out of the bullpen.
Yep.
There's got to be that fight of late in the game, you got to be able to get a couple runs.
And they showed that. And I do have to remind myself at times they're doing this without Aaron Judge.
Sure.
Like you mentioned, they had that unbelievable stretch immediately when he went out. And it was kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, maybe this is just a little, I don't want to say fluke, but it's one of those things where it's like, listen, they got hot at the right time while he was out. Then they kind of came back to reality. That's when they had the 7-game losing streak.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was real fun. I enjoyed that thoroughly.
Yeah, the trip to Fenway was particularly enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I don't remember that for some reason.
Oh, really? I'll jog your memory in a little bit.
It's weird. Almost like I suppressed it or something.
Oh, yeah. There were 4 games. The Red Sox won them all.
I am seeing it now. There's a lot of red L's there on their ledger. But regardless of that little brief hiccup, it was one of those things where now it feels like it's balancing out a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a perfect storm. At the beginning, everybody was kind of catching. I mean, Goldschmidt was unbelievable.
Right.
And then he hit a cold stretch. And then, like you mentioned, Ben Rice hit a cold stretch. And Cody Bellinger hit a cold stretch. And it's like, okay, Judge, if he's not at his best, it almost prepared us in a way for October. Obviously, Judge will hopefully be back by then.
Right.
But if the narrative is that he has had his struggles in the past, he was great last postseason, but that's not always where he excels the most.
Sure.
The fact that he hasn't been in the lineup right now and they're finding a way to gut out these wins, there could be situations where it's like, okay, when Judge is not at his best, who is going to step up?
Yeah.
And Ben Rice has proven an ability to do that. Cody Bellinger has started to prove that. It was when we were going through that really tough stretch, is like, is this going to be it? Like, is this how it's going to go in October? If Judge struggles, are we just going to roll over and die? And they showed some encouraging signs that and they just need a few guys to, like, I feel like Ben Rice, He's still obviously young. I'm optimistic that he'll be ready to go, really ready to go for the postseason. He'll be a major factor. Cody, I'm not super concerned about. He's been in these big moments before. But it's like, okay, who's going to start really stepping up? Who's going to be that maybe third, fourth option for this team? Yeah. Grisham's shown flashes. Jazz obviously showed flashes. That huge go-ahead home run on Friday night in Game 1. So that's encouraging.
Yeah. The one thing, and this is kind of like poking fun at the Yankees a little bit, the one thing that really concerns me with Jazz in the postseason is when earlier in the year he said, well, it's cold out. Of course I'm not hitting. Like something along the lines of, it's cold, that's why I'm not hitting. It is cold in October in New York. Newsflash.
Get used to it, Jazz.
Yeah, listen, it's a good sign because also at some point, Judge seems like he's going to be out for an extended period of time still to come, right? The hope is that he'll be back with time to get his feet under him before the playoffs. But still, you're in a race for the top of the division. And the talk of it only really matters what you do in October is true, but the Yankees need to set themselves up for success in October, which is something that they didn't do last year, in large part because of the June swoon, where they were then had to play the Red Sox in the wild card series. They got through it, but it was a 3-game grind where then you go to Toronto and all of a sudden you get a rested Blue Jays team and it didn't go so well. So, and listen, the AL, not nearly as good as the NL. To get through it, you're still going to have to beat good teams. And good teams with pitching. Because you look at the rest of the AL and it's, all right, Texas is leading the West. Seattle's in second place. If you run into Seattle in the wild card, that's a really good pitching staff. The Red Sox are now a half game out of the wild card. That is a really good pitching staff. You're going to have to hit against good pitching staffs, even to just get out of the American League.
Sure.
And then if you get to the World Series, you got to have a deep lineup and a good pitching staff to beat the Dodgers.
We're probably going against the Dodgers.
Or whoever. If someone upsets the Dodgers, that's a really good team. So, when you talk about doing things in October, it's not just, you mentioned you got to have that fourth or fifth guy in the lineup. You got to find 8 or 9 in order to win a World Series. It can't just be a top half of the lineup and get through. Because if the goal is to win a World Series, it can't just be we have to have a top half of the lineup and good pitching. That might get you through the AL because the AL's not that deep.
It's been the case the last few years for them.
But in order to do it, you got to have a complete lineup. That's what the Blue Jays had last year when they went to 7 and were a literal inch away from beating the Dodgers.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that this team, that's just sometimes I get my hopes up and then they come crashing down. I can picture right now. It's so funny that balance of obviously them wanting to do well, but I almost need them to do poorly enough to where the front office, Brian Cashman, they realize we have to make moves in order to have this be a complete team. And I'm hoping that's even though
I think they're at that point.
Exactly.
Like you go through that June swoon, you realized how thin this lineup is. And there are, Caballero's been good at shortstop. You like him there. Grisham's your center fielder for better or for worse because of the qualifying offer. Your outfield is pretty much set.
Happy with that.
Your outfield's pretty much set. The lineup is you need to address catcher. You need to address third base. The rest of the lineup's kind of where it is, and you just kind of hope that your guys deliver. And that's the other part of the equation in October. You can bring in the best lineup. If the Dodgers go cold, the Dodgers go cold. They're not winning another World Series. So, realistically at this point, you got to get a better hitting catcher. You got to get someone more productive at third base. And you got to get healthy and get hot at the right time. Yeah,
and I'm very pleased. Like again, if you had told me that Judge would go down when he did, and that starting the second half of the season, still be 12 games above 500, I believe, still just 3 back of the Rays, 6.5 up in the wild card. Like they're in a good spot.
They're in a fine spot. They just if they want to make that run, they got to make. It can't just be treading water the rest of the year, or else it's going to be an uphill battle.
And I am optimistic that the losing streak showed enough of the holes to where Brian Cashman will say, rather than his usual mid-season narrative of, we're in a good spot, we've got our deadline moves will be the guys coming back.
Sure. I hate when it's
the absolute
do that.
worst. Like, yes, you were playing great when Judge and Stanton were in the lineup and Fried was in the starting rotation.
Injuries happen,
and those guys will come back. But
you get a guy back, someone else gets hurt.
Yes, you cannot bank on Giancarlo Stanton coming back and being okay. You can Judge's injury. There's a lot there. Sounds like he's coming back. They're shooting for late August, early September, which gives them enough time to ramp up for the playoffs. But there's still that concern. So I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic, that losing streak was enough for them to be like, okay, we got to go out and we got to make some moves. We have to be aggressive. Yeah. Because we kind of stayed on our heels and we were happy with where we were last year and we got exposed badly by the Blue Jays. And now I'm hoping that they're in a position where it's like, okay, we need to go out and be aggressive. They have to get a catcher. I've been hearing Mason Miller's name being thrown around with the Padres sitting around 500.
That's interesting.
That would be I would be elated because I like Bednar, but I mean, you get a chance to get the best reliever in baseball. You have to jump on that.
Yeah.
The Skubal talks have cooled a little bit, especially with the Tigers playing good baseball and them still having a shot at the wild card. Those kind of talks have decreased a little bit, but if you have a chance to go out, I have no problem with it. Everybody's like, well, the starting rotation looks like the best component of this team, and on paper it is, but Schlittler's been great. He's still a young guy. Fried, coming back from injury. Garrett Cole, I love him. He's done a lot of good for the Yankees. He's not quite the same pitcher that
he hasn't looked great.
He's not quite the same pitcher that he's been. We know Rodon has tendencies to struggle in the postseason. I have not been encouraged by Warren or Weathers. Like, those are guys I would love to put in the bullpen maybe in October. Yeah. You bring out Warren, you get out an inning from Weathers, who's a lefty.
I think the big problem with that is that it's the least of their concerns. You're right about the fact that they've pitched well, but outside of Schlittler and Fried, I don't really know how confident I am with 3 or 4 in your starting rotation, but there's so much else that has to be addressed.
Yep.
Not saying they won't. Middle of the rotation guy, relatively, I don't want to say easy to come by, but those type of guys are going to be moved.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you have to address the bullpen. You have to address the lineup before you address the starting rotation.
Yeah, and we're a couple weeks, obviously, still away from the trade deadline. Yeah. Things could change over the next couple of weeks. Depends on how these first couple series, like you mentioned, they got a gauntlet coming out in the second half. Interesting to see how they handle those in the position that they are in at the end of July. We can fantasize about who they'll be getting, and it's all conjecture at this point. But right now, based off the first half, Judge being down for a while, they're in a good spot, and I feel pretty good coming out of the second half. As long as they are aggressive come deadline time, I'll be pretty happy. But again, we got time until the deadline, and we can talk a little bit more about potential moves. But speaking of, this will be a team that we really need to look at. Maybe is already looking at deadline is the New York Mets. When you talk about first halves, it does not get more disappointing than the New York Mets. Just a dismal first half. A terrible they're not that I was going to say they're coming around after they win the Kansas City series, but it's like they won 4 of 5. They took those last 2 in Atlanta, and they took 2 out of 3 at home against Kansas City, and it's like, okay, is there a glimmer of hope? And then they just go and get swept by your Boston Red Sox.
Yeah. An ugly finish for them. An
embarrassing series finale, losing that game in extras and blowing that 9th inning lead. Lindor has the terrible error on the potential, I believe, what could have been game-sealing double play.
Yeah, there was 1 out and man on first.
Yep. And it goes and Devin Williams, not entirely again on him, but he kind of collapses after that.
Couldn't really find the strike zone.
Yep, and then they lose in extras. I mean, that just summed up, I think, the first half for the New York Mets. Yeah. Your guy, quote unquote, Lindor, having a terrible error, and the offense not being there. I mean, they were held to how many runs in that entire series? 4 runs in that entire series. I mean, it could not have been a worse first half, and all signs are pointing to them, unless they have a ridiculous start to the second half of the season. All signs point to them being major sellers at the deadline.
I'll be honest, I don't even know that. I mean, that would be incredible if they had an incredible start to the second half. Maybe even that might not do it. And you look at the teams they got to face: at Philly for 3, at Milwaukee for 3, home to the Dodgers for 3, home to the Braves for 3, and then they go into the deadline with 4 against Miami.
One of the hotter teams in the NL.
Yeah. So, first of all, we talked about a gauntlet for the Yankees. This is worse for the Mets coming out. Yeah, it's just, every expectation, every hope that Mets fans had, let's just say this. Let's, Mets fans, just be happy the Knicks won the NBA title.
That's what Griffin is holding on to.
He's been rolling with the NBA champion. Who cares?
If you're a New York Mets fan, I hope for your sake you're also a New York Knicks fan. So it's something to cheer about.
Yeah, because it's been bad, and this is a team that I think I have a few friends who are Mets fans, and they weren't entirely sold on this team because there were a lot of holes. Funny enough, some of the things that they were worried about, like the young guys, have been the bright spot. Benj has been spectacular. Ewing has been spectacular. Even pitching, Zach Thornton threw a gem on Sunday and it got ruined. It's just been, the pitching has just been terrible. Like
Freddie Peralta,
he hasn't lived up to that. He was always like a 1B type guy. Like he wasn't quite that ace standard in Milwaukee, but he was really good.
Phenomenal.
He hasn't been that for the Mets. Outside of Nolan McLean, they really haven't gotten much starting pitching. The bullpen's been bad. And they've been sloppy defensively at times. It's just Stearns, he rolled the dice a bunch. None of it came back and paid off. And it's just, this is a team that now you got a bunch of guys who are on expensive contracts, who aren't producing.
Tough to move.
Who are tough to move. The guys who could be moved, you maybe don't want to move. It's just they're in a bad spot right now. Yeah,
and Stearns catches a lot of heat, deservedly so in a lot of instances. But some of the moves that he made, the Freddie Peralta, you go into that season and you think they have a phenomenal 1 through 3. Clay Holmes goes down, huge loss. Freddie Peralta has just been terrible. 5-8, 4.66 ERA. He showed no signs of that in Milwaukee last year. He was an ace. It seemed like a tremendous pickup, and he's just been terrible. And McLean's really been their saving grace in that rotation, but even he's gone through some kind of sophomore hiccups in a sense. So that, it can't all fall on him. There has been some just underperformance.
There's been some underperformance, but I also think it's the way this team was constructed. Sure. Bo Bichette, you bring him in. I liked the Bichette move. I liked bringing in that bat. I thought he would be fine at third base, but he struggled out of the gate fine. But I think it's, we're going to bank on Jorge Polanco being our everyday first baseman after you just kind of let Pete Alonso, this legend of the organization, walk. Yep. That's who we're relying on. We're bringing in a past his prime Marcus Semien to play second base after we get rid of Jeff McNeil. Devin Williams, Pete seemed to have broken him in Milwaukee.
Sure did.
And, he just hasn't been the same. A 4.83 ERA. And there have been moments where he's made good pitches. Sunday was a perfect example. He walked a couple guys. He got the ground outs he needed, but when he had to, he couldn't get the out. And, I think, Kodai Senga has just been terrible. That's a letdown for, Stearns, obviously. But that's what happens with losing teams. Guys underperform who you're expecting to perform, and then some of the moves just don't work out. And I think at this point, Mendoza has, they parted ways with Mendoza. Right move for both sides, I think.
Yeah, you had to shake something up.
I think if you're going into this deadline, if you're Stearns, you sell what you can and you kind of hope to lay out a plan and see if management will give you another crack at it. Yep. I know a lot of Mets fans don't really want that to happen, but if you're able to sell at the deadline, you have your starting outfield for the next 10 years, and you go from there.
Sure. And the Francisco Lindor talk has gotten very interesting.
Sure. It'll be really it's going to be fun for us non-Mets fans.
Yes.
It's going to be fun to track that because that'll be interesting.
Yeah, for those who aren't familiar, Lindor was asked on Sunday about waiving his no-trade clause, declined to comment, which to some people is
a lot of times.
A comment.
If you're gonna say I'm not waiving the no-trade clause, you usually come out and say I'm not waiving the no-trade clause.
Yep. It would be very. Based off what I've seen and what I'm reading, it would be very unlikely for them to move him, and especially because A, he has the no trade clause. B, he has a very undesirable contract.
They'd probably have to eat a lot of that money.
A lot of money that a team would have to take on. And at the end of the day, you're looking at a 32-year-old shortstop who has not produced. And I know he's been linked to the Yankees, and I think that would be you got to give up too much for him and take on too much of a deal. And I don't know if he's the answer to their problems necessarily because Caballero is played so well. But you look at that team, and you're totally right about the outfield. That's something that can stay in place for the foreseeable future. That is set, and that's something encouraging moving forward to build upon. But you look at that team and it's like, who do you move?
Yeah.
And we're like, where do you go? I think Freddie Peralta has to be one of the top ones.
Freddie Peralta could be. Bo Bichette it's tough. It would be tough to move Bo Bichette because I believe it's either a mutual option or it's a player option. The club can't just get rid of him at the end of the year. But so, you'd have to commit, but he's still on a relatively short term deal. There would only be max 2 more years on his deal after this one. So maybe you could move Bichette if you wanted to. I think you could maybe move a guy like Luke Weaver. You could see if someone wants to bite on an AJ Minter, who's has a sub-2 ERA and he's a lefty out of the pen. I mean, you can maybe see if someone wants to bite on Williams and give him a shot. But yeah, I mean, there's not a ton you can move. I mean, maybe, I don't know if they would want to move a guy like Francisco Alvarez because he's so young, but he's a catcher who's batting .250 right now and has 9 home runs. A
lot of teams need catchers
in limited at bats this year because of an injury. So, Francisco Alvarez is a guy who could I know his name hasn't been thrown around, but you look at this roster and you go, all right, that's a guy, he's been in the league a couple of years. Maybe this is a team that's selling at the deadline. Maybe if I was a team in need of a catcher, the Mets would certainly be one of the teams I'd call about Francisco Alvarez.
Yeah. Overall, I mean, again, we're just this is conjecture, and we're a long way off from the deadline, but we're
just throwing ideas out
It's
there.
a tough, hopefully Stearns is listening to some of these. Right. He's tuning into 10 for 10.
He's locking in on 10 for 10.
To get Tommy Valentine and Brian Rudman's thoughts on what he needs to do at the deadline. But everything is tracking right now towards the Mets being sellers at the deadline. It's just been a really tough year. Yep. A team that was potentially believed to be a seller at this time of even just a few weeks ago, now all of a sudden, it pains me to say it, I have to put a label on it. The hottest team in baseball, the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
These are your boys. I'll let you take the floor on this one.
Oh, boy. I said it last week. I didn't think it would last, but it's been fun to watch. They won 4 more games after that. I don't know. I'm kind of buying in again. I mean, they're a half game. I've honestly been saying this for pretty much the entire year, which is as bad as they've been. The AL is so bad that it's
open
3 to 6 games out of a wild card, and they're the crazy run away from being in it. And funny enough, you go back to last year, they went into the All-Star break on a 10-game winning streak, and that was the reason they made the playoffs. Yep. They pretty much played 500 ball the rest of the year, and that's why they made the playoffs. They didn't start nearly as bad last year, but the AL also isn't nearly as good this year. So they're in it. And I think also, before we get into this team, Wilson Contreras going to the brass and saying that he's not waiving his no-trade clause and he wants to end his career in Boston. Dude, come on,
feel real good.
Oh, my gosh. This is a guy who's literally willing to go to war every night for this group.
Yeah, shown that.
Wilson Contreras, in a season that up until 2.5 weeks ago, looked lost, was the savior. And, I mean, yeah, Wilson Contreras is awesome. Has been awesome for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
I mean, 9 wins, and they're doing it in different ways. The pitching has been absolutely phenomenal, and the pitching has been great. They took it to another level the last couple of weeks, and then you start to look at what this offense did, starting with the Yankees series. With the 5 wins in a row they had there, 6 runs, 6 runs, 4 runs, 5, 6. They lost 2 games, then went 5 runs, 8, 7, 8, 5, 2, 6, 4, 3. That's winning baseball. When more often than not, you're scoring 4 or more runs, and then the times when you're not, your pitching is giving up 2 or less. That is winning baseball, and for the first time this season, it's kind of looked like things are coming together. Anthony Siegler has established himself as their second baseman.
Incredible, yeah.
And their leadoff hitter out of nowhere. Andrew Monasterio's making an impact. Caleb Durbin has started to figure it out at the plate.
Yep.
And I have not been a Breslow guy at all. I'm not a Breslow guy. I said it last week. I still don't think he's the guy that's going to get them to that World Series level like they were at in 2018. Sure. But at this point, I'm going to give him credit because Ranger Suarez, great signing. Wilson Contreras, great trade. Jake Bennett did a 1-for-1 swap with the Nationals. He's been phenomenal.
My boy Sonny.
Sonny Gray, unbelievable. How he was not an all-star, I do not know. That was unreal. And then the Caleb Durbin trade with Milwaukee, all year it's been, well, you let Kyle Harrison go.
Yeah.
That's fine. Kyle Harrison's been great. They haven't needed starting pitching. All of a sudden, from that trade, you have your starting second baseman and your starting third baseman. And because of all the injuries, Andrew Monasterio is starting at shortstop every other night.
Yeah, they're getting some guys back after in the second half. Suarez is going to come back at some point. And Roman Anthony's going to come back.
This is it. So this is interesting, and it's not really a topic for now. But they're doing this without Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, and Garrett Crochet.
Sure.
Who are 3 guys who, if you told me they were going to be in the hunt, those were going to be 3 guys at the center of it, especially Anthony and Crochet. And, there's been some talk about how Anthony and Meyer have kind of handled things. Not direct talk, but there have been some comments about how, whether they're, the mental toughness for them. Whatever, dude. Like, right now, this team is just a bunch of dogs right now.
We're stacking dubs.
Stacking
That's
wins.
all that matters.
And, these are just guys, they're just grinding out baseball games right now. These are guys who are just going out there and winning ball games. Jaron Duran has not been good, but he has found ways to make impact plays the last couple weeks.
Seems like even the guys who have struggled, all of a sudden they come up and they, as long as they make one play, they everything seems to be happening at the right time.
And that's been the frustrating thing for the Red Sox this year, is that they have been frustratingly watchable throughout the season because the pitching's been so good and they've gotten guys on base. They've been missing that one play. And in the last couple of weeks, they've been getting the one big swing. They've been driving in the runs. I don't want to bring it up for you because I know that was not a fun night, but that Sunday night, they're a week before, they don't win that ball game.
Sure.
The fact that they got back in that game and they found a way to rally, and then Jarren Duran, I was convinced he was striking out because all year, all he's done in that spot is strike out, and yet he walks it off. So it's really fun to watch. They've gone from sellers to buyers in the matter of pretty much a week and a half. They've won 14 out of their last 16. They've won 9 in a row, and they go into the break with some momentum. They're 2 games below 500, and they're half a game out of the wild card, and they're the hottest team in baseball. And all of a sudden, I'm now starting to think, well, could add a middle reliever, could add another bat. I'm starting to think, I don't know.
You're buying?
How could you not at this point? In
right.
this AL, come on. 500 gets you into the playoffs. How could you not buy in at this point?
I think they're getting 10 straight.
I don't know.
Rays out of the break.
They got Tampa out of the break, and they're without Wilson for the first game.
Yeah.
Because he finishes up his suspension. So I think they'll get a split on Friday. That's actually when this will air.
Yeah.
We're recording this at 7 o'clock Thursday. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, Jake Bennett's throwing, so he's been phenomenal. He's been absolutely phenomenal. So you never know. I think they'll get a split tomorrow. I think I'd be happy with a split against Tampa, and then you have Toronto and Baltimore at home. I think I think for the Red Sox at this point, it's been fun to watch. I don't expect them to keep playing at this high level of baseball. But the truth of the matter is, in the AL right now, if you win 6 out of every 4, you're in the playoffs. So That's all I really need from them right now.
Listen, I'm happy for you. I'm not happy it's the Red Sox, but I'm happy for you.
Well, I appreciate that.
All right, we're going to talk some more baseball, but first we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 10 for 10. We just finished talking MLB teams. We've got a little more MLB ground to cover. The home run derby, Brian, that was
fun.
That was a fun one.
Yeah.
New format this year. Didn't love that it was on Netflix. It's kind of just an annoying little wrinkle.
I'm not a huge. I don't like when it's exclusively streaming services. Like, come on, what are we like? You want to go simulcast, like when it's NBC and Peacock, or ABC and ESPN Plus, or whatever, whatever it may be. Fine with that. I don't like when it's exclusively streaming.
Yeah, fortunately, I have a Netflix account, and I was able to watch. And it was
fun to watch.
Jeff Passan, when he said he thought it was going to stink this year, I thought the format was tremendous. Even looking back to older highlights, and I saw a video of a previous derby when they still did the timer, and the guys are just sending out balls, and you don't have a chance to track them. Like some of all the home run balls in this format were followed with the 20 swings in the first round, 15 in the semis and the finals. Yeah. I really enjoyed the format, and I liked what they did with the magenta ball. When you get to that last out, you can or last swing, you can swing until you get an out.
Yeah.
And that obviously, that was the reason it was so electric at the end. Jordan Walker goes into the last swing, 3 back of Kyle Schwarber, and he gets 4 in a row, and he walks it off.
Oh yeah.
In front of the Philly faithful too.
Right.
I mean, it would have been really cool to see Schwarber. I like Schwarber a lot.
Yeah,
it would have been cool to see him win it, but the manner at which Jordan Walker wins that is phenomenal. I like the format a lot. I hope they keep it for next year. I just hope it's on broadcast.
Yeah, I do too.
Bring it back. Put it back on ESPN.
Yeah.
The crew was great. Vescursion did a really nice job. That guy's electric. He always brings the energy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just it was exciting to watch. I mean, tough showing for my guy Ben Rice. Coming in dead last, but seemed like he enjoyed himself.
Listen, it's a fun night, and like for guys, it's great. Like they obviously want to compete, they want to win. You get $1 million, which, by the way, for Jordan Walker, who is making less than $1 million as an MLB player, listen,
that one meant a little more.
His $799,000 salary is still pretty good.
Yes, he's doing okay for himself. I'm sure
he's doing fine. But, probably the $1 million for the home run derby probably goes further for him than it does for Kyle Schwarber, who's on his, free agent deal where he making millions and millions. Listen, that was just awesome to watch. And, I also think, because I remember when when they switched to the timer, we were still in high school.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking it was cool because it was just so much more fast-paced.
Yeah, and it's different.
And it was different. And, after years of, guys taking, 20 pitches before swinging, they made the change. The last couple of years, it's gotten to the point. When they first started it was they were enforcing the rule where you couldn't throw the ball until the last one landed.
And then there was no way to regulate that anymore.
That first year where they were actually still tracking it, but it was every swing was they were just going for it. That was fun. But over the years, it just got to the point where it was just throw. It was just rapid fire BP.
Yeah, and you couldn't see where any of the balls landed. Right. And some of those ones Wilson Contreras hit.
Yeah,
I wanted to see where those landed because those were bombs.
I mean, the 490 was unreal. And for a guy who, was the underdog, longest odds to win it. I mean, to get out of the first round was impressive the way that he did. I think it was awesome. And I think the best part about it for me was guys were selective, but not overly selective. They were still swinging away. Because that's the other thing. It needs to be a combination.
It's got to move.
It's got to move. Can't be sitting still for too long. But, gotta be paced. It was awesome to watch.
Yeah.
And I think it's fun. It's a fun night. Netflix did a fine job. Yeah. I don't like when it's streamed, but the presentation was still enjoyable.
I feel bad for people like my dad.
Right, sure.
Who's got to use my Netflix account. You can't do the Netflix sharing or whatever anymore. So I don't know. I haven't asked my dad. I was expecting are you using your Netflix account text? So maybe he figured it out. Maybe it worked for him, but just put it back on.
Yeah,
ESPN.
Not for nothing. I'm on my parents' Netflix account. If I was at home, it would have been a 50-50. It would be a coin flip to see if it decided that it recognized I wasn't in Goshen, New York right now. But listen, it was enjoyable. It was fun to watch, and that's exactly what you want out of the home run derby.
Always
it was fun.
The derby.
Yeah.
Just as good, maybe not just as good, but I say just as good because I'm a Yankee fan, and they balled out. All-Star game was solid. It obviously doesn't have the same draw that it once did when you were playing for home field advantage in the World Series. In hindsight, it's a little ridiculous that an exhibition game decides that. Yeah. And I am glad that in the long run that they took that factor out of it.
But man, it was fun to watch when they did that. Guys were going for it, man.
The MLB All-Star Game was far and away the best.
I still
think it is. Yeah, the NBA All-Star Game's the worst. Nobody watches the Pro Bowl. I'm not even going to lump in NHL. No disrespect to them, but it is still a great game, and the guys try. I think that's the reason.
Well, I think there's no way to fake baseball.
Yes.
Unless you're going to go throw BP, which no pitcher in their right mind would do that without an L screen and let Kyle Schwarber just tee off.
Yeah.
You can't fake pitching, and then you can't lollygag and hit a fastball from a major league all-star.
Yeah.
So, I think there's no real way to fake it. I think guys still try to, when they're playing defense, they're still putting in some effort. They're still running.
Yeah.
I think it's a good product. That's the best thing about the All-Star game. And I think the way that they cover it, Fox does an excellent job, I think. The in-game interviews are entertaining. I will say Dylan Cease and Shea Langoliers were not the most talkative. I saw a video of what Clayton Kershaw was like on the mound.
I do remember
and he was very chatty.
Yep.
Dylan Cease was not as chatty.
Listen, you're starting the All-Star game.
Yeah.
You'd be locked in, especially when there's all that chatter. Does he deserve it?
Sure.
Should have been maybe Schlittler. Sure. Obviously, Schlittler turned down pitching in that game. So, Cease went in there, I think, with all business.
Yeah.
And
but
great.
When it was Pete Crow Armstrong in center field, that was awesome. He was great. I think it's a really good job. I liked, the celebration for America was cool.
Sure.
Stand Up to Cancer is always a special moment. That's awesome.
Philly did a nice job. The whole event.
The All-Star game, it's a great product on the field. The MLB does a great job. Fox does a great job with the broadcast. I think overall, it's just a great night for the sport. Yeah,
and it was a great night for the Yankees. Cody Bellinger starts things off with the scoring at that 2-run single. Ben Rice batting right next to each other in the lineup has that RBI single right after him.
Yeah.
Bellinger ends up winning All-Star Game MVP, only the fourth Yankee ever to do that. Giancarlo Stanton.
Named after Ted Williams.
Yeah, great for him.
Yep.
No, major respect for Ted Williams. Giancarlo Stanton, Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter, Cody Bellinger. So pretty good company there.
Good company to keep.
Yep, and AL pitching was just unbelievable.
Oh, they were
15 strikeouts. They only surrendered 3 hits.
Yeah.
So again, it wasn't the most thrilling game. It was 4-0, but the Yankees did great. Bellinger wins MVP, and listen, it's a baseball game.
Yeah.
And considering we didn't have any Wednesday, and I was really missing something to watch, it's always fun. It's always fun. Speaking of All-Star games, we had the Frontier League All-Star game. If you're watching this on Friday, 2 nights ago, Wednesday night. And it's been a tough first half for the Tri-City ValleyCats, no doubt about it, but a nice sign to see a ValleyCat take home All-Star Game MVP. shout out David Glancy, ValleyCats outfielder, scored the tying run in the 7th inning, hit the go-ahead home run in the 9th, and the Atlantic Conference goes on to beat the Midwest Conference 2-1. So props to him. Props to Dylan Broderick, who is another ValleyCat outfielder, started for the Atlantic Conference. And again, props to David Glancy. Love to see that for them. I think the real takeaway that we need from this game, Brian, and correct me if I'm wrong, the creativity of the Frontier League, the Florence Y'alls hosting the game, and it's the Y'all-Star game.
The Y'all-Star game. Love it.
A lot of props for the creative wordplay
down in Kentucky. Love it. The Y'all-Star game. Good job with the branding.
Yep.
Love it. We had the Frontier League All-Star game here at Tri-City last year. It was great. I was there. Ian Walters hit the go-ahead run.
Second year in a row. ValleyCat has had the deciding run.
Yeah, fireworks. It was great. It was fun. It was a fun night. I think I also, you give them credit. They kind of staggered theirs from, I remember last year, I think it was the same night. So it was they got a good crowd at the Joe, but I remember it was I think it was a good thing that they staggered it because, Wednesday's the perfect night for that.
Sure.
There's no Major League Baseball. There's no affiliated baseball.
Might as well tune in.
Yeah, might as well. So
really
good to see.
Yeah, that was a nice moment for Glancy. ValleyCats as a whole, tough first half. Like I mentioned, 15 and a half games back. I know it's a cliche. There is a lot of baseball left to be played. People forget that second spot in the North Division is the wild card spot. They're only 6.5 back of the Ottawa Titans. So they could get hot in the second half and still make a bid for a wild card spot. They got to shore up the pitching. The hitting's been phenomenal. And they've lost some arms.
Yeah.
And they lost Stephen Still to a major league organization. And, a lot was working against them in the first half. But I will not count out Greg Taggart's team.
No.
A lot could happen in the second half.
No, still, like you said, still plenty of baseball. Yeah. We still got a fun summer at the Joe coming.
You never know what can happen in the Frontier League. All right, that covers baseball. We have to take another break, and then we're talking Albany Firebirds when we come back. Welcome back to 10 for 10. We are talking Albany Firebirds now. My arrow duties are, there we go.
There you go.
I'm back on track.
Right.
Tough finish to the regular season, Brian. I know you were at Saturday's game. They lose to the Nashville Cats, officially falling to not that they had the first overall seed. They had a chance to get it on Saturday. They fall. Yeah. They are officially going into the Arena Football 1 playoffs as the 2 seed, limping into the playoffs a little bit, the defending champs. It's going to be tough for them to go back-to-back given their struggles with Nashville.
Yeah, they've lost 3 of their last 4. 2 of those games have been in Nashville. I think the one thing with this team, and Damon Ware's said it for the last couple of weeks, this team is beat up. They needed the double bye. They have a bye week this week to finish the regular season, and then they get the bye to open the playoffs. Yep. They've needed it. He's talked about it multiple times. Even going into the Nashville game, they're still beat up. There's a lot of personnel that they are hoping to get back. It's going to be a slightly different look from this Firebirds team when they take the field on August 1st for that playoff game. Whoever they are playing against, we'll find out in a couple weeks. Listen, it's going to be an uphill battle. They got to go to Nashville. Certainly better than playing in a mall. But
we'll get into that. We won't rehash that.
Listen, they haven't been the same dominant Firebirds they were last year when they won the title. They haven't been the same dominant Firebirds that they were in the front half of this year, but listen, they're going to host a playoff game against a team that they should beat.
Yep.
If they're healthy, they're going to give themselves a shot against Nashville. The 2 losses have both been close.
Yeah.
So if they can get healthy, they'll give themselves a shot.
I know QB1, Sam Cashanovi, was out the last couple of games dealing with a personal matter. Hopefully gets that sorted out, and they'll certainly be needing him in order to beat the Nashville
But
Cats.
Kolka's been great.
Tyler Kolka's been phenomenal. And I'm sorry, Josh Kolka. Sorry, Tyler Kolka plays for the Cats. Josh has been great, and but hopefully, I mean, Sam defending MVP. You gotta think that in order to beat the Cats for the first time this year, they'll need him to come back. Never too early. Start talking basketball.
Yeah.
Summer workouts underway for the UAlbany men and women this week. I caught up with the men's team on Tuesday. As is the case with most mid-major teams in this day and age.
Yeah.
Very new squad, but they do return a decent core. 4 players are back. Nice to see the Albany native, Zach Matulu. He'll likely be a captain. Very good leadership. He'll be a guy that can kind of hopefully really rally the troops this year.
Love the way he plays, man.
Tough.
So much just energy. Just leading the way. Just love the passion he plays with.
And they'll it seems like they're really placing an emphasis on defense. They've got Matulu's a tremendous defender. They brought in one of the highest ranked recruits in program history, and freshman Tyler Jones. He's all over the place defensively. Got another local guy, Umir Graham, a former Green Tech standout. So there's going to be some local flair with this team. So just a lot of reasons to be excited about, I think, the UAlbany men's team this year. And I know Wednesday, technically what day is today? Thursday. I'm getting my days all screwed up. Thursday, you caught up with the women's team first year under Kelly Marone.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of just 2 players returning for this UAlbany women's team. They bring 3 over with Kelly Marone from Merrimack. So, just a lot of bonding. I think, a lot of there are a couple of key pieces, both from Merrimack. They bring back Laura Langerman from last year, who was a starter for the Great Danes. It's tough to tell because there's so many new pieces, but I know they're excited about where they're at, and they're excited about the chemistry this group has already. Just, 3 or 4 days into practice?
I'm big on bold predictions, you know that.
Yes.
More often than not, they don't pan out, so I hope I'm not shooting myself in the foot here.
I can confirm his bold predictions very rarely come true.
But they're bold. They're bold. They're not supposed to come true. I am putting my stamp on Madison Roman. That's a name you Albany fans are going to want to remember.
Yes.
Potential America East Player of the Year.
She was excellent.
She was phenomenal for Merrimack the last
year.
couple seasons. Average a double-double. That is somebody that fans are going to want to familiarize themselves with, and she could be a key piece for the Great Danes this season. We have to take one more break, and then we're going to touch on a little soccer when we come back. Really quick, we are talking World Cup. Not a huge soccer fan myself, but hand in the air, this tournament's been fantastic.
Oh, it's been awesome.
Some tremendous semifinal games, another remarkable come-from-behind victory for Argentina, stunning England in the late stages of that semifinal game. And we've got the final for Sunday set, Spain, Argentina. I think the storylines write themselves. Argentina looking to become the 3rd country ever to go back-to-back as World Cup champions. Spain in the final for the 2nd time ever. This has been a fun tournament, and no reason to believe Sunday's final shouldn't blow people away. Yeah,
I believe also, I think I have this correct, the European champion against the South American champion, I think.
Sounds right to me.
So this is a really exciting matchup, and it's, right around the corner. It's down at MetLife Stadium. Yep. New York, New Jersey Stadium, I apologize. But yeah, it's in Jersey where the Jets and Giants play. Should be a really fun game to watch.
Spain. I mean, everybody's circling Argentina, and rightfully so, as the defending champions. But that Spain team, I believe, 1 goal allowed in the knockout round.
Ridiculous.
I think they're the slight favorite. That game's going to be phenomenal. I will certainly be tuning in on Sunday. And then, speaking of soccer, really cool story from right here in the Capital Region. Yeah. Waterford Half Moon rising junior Peyton Galuski, who plays on the boys team and was an all-state selection last year, a boys all-state selection. She is going to be headed to Penn State, made the announcement last week. I'm thrilled that we get to watch her for at least another season. And it's been an absolute pleasure. And she's going to a legit program in Penn State that's been to the NCAA tournament every year since they won it in 2015.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about someone who's going to join a program, like you said, in the NCAA tournament year in, year out. This is someone, we talked to her earlier in the week. She's got aspirations to go play pro and go to high levels. And I think, this is a program that can help her reach those goals. And, it's always exciting when we have a student athlete go to a huge program or go play pro. And, this is certainly wishing the best for her going forward and excited we get to have her, competing in Section 2 for another season.
116 career goals.
Yeah,
she started
crazy.
as a 7th grader, helped the girls program at Waterford Half Moon win back-to-back state titles. I mean, she was Class C New York State Player of the Year as a 7th grader.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
She has legitimate pro national team aspirations. I never want to compare a player at this age, but she seems like she's headed on a potential Claire Hutton trajectory. So congratulations to Peyton Gillespie and wishing her all the best, and can't wait to see her and Kennedy Ring, Columbia grad. She'll be joining at Penn State, so we'll be tuning in a lot of Nittany Lions games here in the next couple of years. We just went 10 for 10. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week.